Yes, friends, I have with me here the book, Nature Meditations. And over the last many months, as you know, we've already touched upon quite a number of the sayings that you find in this volume. And I hope that you're feeling inspired to work with the sayings on your own, to pick up the book, walk out into the forest, or walk along the seashore, and open it up and breathe into one of these sayings, because they're not just sayings that are meant to sit inside you. They're sayings that are meant to move inside you, and not only move inside you, but move out and in again, cycle through you on the current of the breath. The breath, which is the phenomenon which constantly links us with the surrounding nature, because we breathe out into it, we breathe in from it, and we're totally embedded in this way continuously. So the sayings are used on the breath, and we'll be exploring a number of them in the weeks to come. But today perhaps we could turn to the very first saying in this collection. And the saying comes under the heading of earth. You see it there? And the saying is, I bend towards the Mother Earth in delight of the Father in heaven. So this is a saying that is playing with an old association, an association that you do find down the ages in a number of traditions, which is to associate the sky with a masculine principle and the earth with a feminine principle. And then the problem for society becomes when earth is denigrated because of that association, then automatically the female is implicated in the earth and is accordingly disdained, and that gives rise to all kinds of misogyny and inequality. And so, of course, one could throw out altogether the association between sky and earth and father and mother, or one could reinterpret it, and really, in interpreting the earth now as something holy and beneficent and generative, come to a whole new appreciation of womankind. So that's what this saying does. It keeps the old association of Father Sky and Mother Earth, and venerates both. And we could also use these symbols, Father Sky and Mother Earth, as markers for something that does come down to us through the philosophical elaboration of Sufism through Neoplatonic language. And that is that in The Soul, Whence and Whither, for instance, Murshid speaks of ourselves as having a spiritual dimension, a mental dimension, and a physical dimension. So there is within us an angel, a jinn, and a human being. And that human being, of course, encompassing all of our earthly relations, our animality, our heritage from the vegetal realm and mineral realm, and so forth. But basically these three levels, the angelic level, the jinnic level, and the human level. And then we can see that at each level there is an encompassing totality. So that is called at the angelic level, that is called the Akle Kul. Akle Kul means the universal intelligence. The angels are all luminous intelligences, and they're all part of one great universal intelligence. And that is the Akle Kul. And then when you come to the level of mind, or psyche, which is sometimes translated as soul, all of these souls, all of these psyches are part of one collective soul, one great soul, which is the Nafsi Kul. And when you come to the level of the body, all bodies are fragments of, are particles of, one great body, and which is called the Jismi Kul, the universal body. And it's known by many names. And what we call the, the spirit of guidance is really the composite of the collective intelligence, the collective mind, and the collective body. Just as each of us has these three parts, the collective being, the being of the universe. Now God is even beyond that. What we call God or Goddess is even beyond that, because there's a multiverse and there's no end to it. But this particular manifestation, Adam Kadmon is the old Kabbalistic word for it, the great human being of which the galaxies are all a part, that exists on these same levels that we exist on. So we could interpret this practice in this way, that when we speak of the Father in heaven, we're speaking of the Aklikul, the universal intelligence. And when we're speaking of the Mother Earth, we're speaking of the Jismikul, the collective materiality, the body of the cosmos, of which this earth, this physical earth, is an organ. And of course that organ is totally linked up with the mental and spiritual dimensions, as those dimensions are linked up with the physical ones. There are no hard and fast boundaries, but there's this great circulation through the spheres, constantly cross-pollinating, and that produces the heaven of the philosophical child. So to birth this philosophical child, we can take up this fikr. We inhale, I bend toward the Mother Earth. We bend toward the Jismikul, the universal body. Inhaling, I bend toward the Mother Earth. And exhaling, in delight of the Father in heaven. Just let your breath become relaxed and wide and deep, flowing out far, coming in deep. You don't need to push it or pull it. It just keeps expanding itself as you relax into it, and as all of your limbs and organs yield to its constant ebb and flow. Inhaling, I bend towards the Mother Earth. Exhaling, in delight of the Father in heaven. And you could let the words fall away, but still attend to this sense of a dual inheritance and a dual veneration. A duality that ultimately resolves itself into the unity of the one being, the one to whom we belong, whether found in the visible or in the invisible, in embodiment or disembodiment, always the one, the friend, the beloved. And whenever you're ready, we could open our eyes again. O Thou who art the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, Sovereign of heaven and earth, open our hearts that we may hear Thy voice, which constantly comes from within. Disclose to us Thy divine light, which is hidden in our souls, that we may know and understand life better. Most merciful and compassionate God, give us Thy great goodness. Teach us Thy loving forgiveness. Raise us above the distinctions and differences which divide us. Send us the peace of Thy divine Spirit, and unite us all in Thy perfect being. Amen.